Bengali science fiction is a part of Bengali literature containing science fiction elements. Earliest writers. Science fiction in the Bengali language is known as Kalpabigyan. Bengali writers wrote various science fiction works in the 19th and early 20th centuries during the British Raj before the partition of India. Isaac Asimov's assertion that true science fiction could not really exist until people understood the rationalism of science and began to use it with respect in the stories is true for the earliest science fiction written in the Bengali language. The earliest notable Bengali science fiction was Jagadanandi Roy's Shukra Brahmin, published in 1879. This story is of particular interest to literary historians, as it described a journey to another planet. Its description of the alien creatures that are seen in Uranus used an evolutionary theory similar to the origins of man. They resembled our apes to a large extent. The bodies were covered with dense black fur. The heads were larger in comparison with the bodies, limbs sported long nails, and they were completely naked. Quote, this story was published a decade before H.G. Wells' The War of the Worlds, in which Wells describes the aliens from Mars. Some specialists credit Hemlal Datta as one of the earliest Bengali science fiction writers for his Roso. This story was published in 2 installments in 1882 in the pictorial magazine Vigyan Dorpan. Jagadish Chandra Bose, now considered as the father of Bengali science fiction, wrote Niradesha Kahini in 1896. This tale of weather control, one of the first Bengali science fiction works, features getting rid of a cyclone using a little bottle of hair oil. Later, he included the story with changes in the collection of essays titled Abhyakta as Palatak Tufan. Both versions of the story have been translated into English by Bodhisattva Chattopadhyay, Roquia Sakarwat Sain, and early Islamic feminist, wrote Sultanas Dream, one of the earliest examples of feminist science fiction in any language. It depicts a feminist utopia of role reversal, in which men are locked away in seclusion, in a manner corresponding to the traditional Muslim practice of purdah for women. The short story, written in English, was first published in the Madras-based Indian Ladies magazine in 1905, and 3 years later appeared as a book. Premendra Mitra wrote the first novel, Kuhoki Desh. Hemendra Kumar wrote Meghjuta Morte Agamon, science fiction in Bangladesh. After Qazi Abdul Halim's Mohasana Khanna, Humayun Ahmed read the first modern Bengali SF novel, Tomada Jono Valobaso. It was published in 1973. This book is treated as the first full-fledged Bangladeshi science fiction novel. Then he read Tara Tinhon, Irina, Ananto Nakshatrabithi, Fihisomiko Ron, etc. But Bengali science fiction leaves its cocoon phase holding the hands of Muhammad Zafar Iqbal. Mr. Iqbal wrote a story named Kopotronic Sukdako when he was a student of Dhaka University. This story was later included in a compilation of Iqbal's work in a book by the same name. Muqtadara, a famous publishing house of Dhaka, was the publisher of this book. This collection of science fiction stories gained huge popularity, and the new trend of science fiction emerged among Bengali writers and readers. After his first collection, Mr. Iqbal transformed his own science fiction cartoon strip Mo Akash Mohatrash into a novel. All told, Muhammad Zafar Iqbal has written the greatest number of science fiction works in Bengali science fiction, following the footsteps footsteps of the ancestors. More and more writers, especially young writers, started writing science fiction, and a new era started in Bengali literature. Molak, the first and longest-running Bangladeshi science fiction magazine, was first published in 1997, with famous cartoonist Hassan Habib as the editor. This monthly magazine played an important role in the development of Bengali science fiction in Bangladesh. A number of new and very promising science fiction writers, including Rabiul Hassan Avi, Anik Khan, Hazra Masood, Sajjad Kabir, Russell Ahmed and Mizanur Rahman Khalil, came of age while working with the magazine. Recently, Naseem Sanik is a promising young science fiction writer in Bangladesh. His latest science fiction books like Genetic Code, Robo-Psychologist, Sundarban Truti, Cox Bizarre Cosp are very famous to young generation. Other writers of Bangladesh. Other notable writers in the genre include Nipun Alam, Ali Imam, Qazi Anwar Hussain, Altamaz Pasha, Abdul Ahad, Anirudh Alam, Asanul Habib, Kamal Arslan, Drive, Ahmed Mujibar Rahman, Moinullah Sansaba, Swapan Kumar Gayan, Mustafa Tanam, Vobdish Ray, Jubaid Gushan Arahana, Amirul Islam, Tahijur Rahman, Zakaria Swapan and Qazi Shanur Hussain. Writers from West Bengal. A number of writers from West Bengal, India have written science fiction. Credit for the first Bengali science fiction story is often given to later Bengali authors such as Jagadananda Roy, Hemlal Dutta and the polymath Jagadish Chandra Bose. Eminent filmmaker and writer Satyajit Ray also enriched Bengali science fiction by writing many short stories as well as science fiction series. Professor Shanku Adrish Bardhan is one of the most notable names among West Bengal's sci-fi writers. Under the pen name of Akash Sen, Bardhan was also the editor of Ashgoryo, the first Bengali science fiction magazine. After a 6-year run, this magazine ceased publishing. Later, Mr. Bardhan became editor of the magazine Fantastic, but it did not last long. Another sci-fi magazine, Vismoy Science Fiction, was edited by Sujita and Ranan Ghosh but was only published for 2 years. A short story known as The Alien, written by Satyajit Ray about an alien named Mr. Ang, gained popularity among Bengalis in the early 1960s. Ray is attributed with virtually pioneering the genre of Indian science fiction. It is alleged that the script for Steven Spielberg's film E.T. was based on a script for The Alien that Ray had sent to the film's producers in the late 1960s. Other notable science fiction writers of West Bengal include Leela Majumdar, Premendra Mitra, Sunil Ganguly, Shirshandu Mukherjee, Said Mustafa Siraj, Samajit Kaur, Anish Deb, Biswajit Ganguly, Siddhartha Ghosh, Rajesh Basu and Abhijnan Roy Chowdhury. Portrayal of characters. Most Bengali science fiction authors use different characters for different stories, building them up in different forms according to the theme of the story. The stories by Muhammad Zafar Iqbal sometimes repeat names but have never used the same character in more than one story. Qazi Shanur Hussain, the eldest son of Qazi Anwar Hussain and grandson of Qazi Motaha Hussain, wrote a science fiction series named Kotamama series. These are the adventures of a young Bangladeshi scientist Rumi Kotamama and his nephew. Satyajit Ray wrote most of his science fiction works with the participation of the fictional character Professor Shanku Trilokeshwar Shanku. Shanku is portrayed as an aged man with proficiency in 72 different languages who has created a number of innovative inventions. In Shanku's stories, he was regularly accompanied by other characters including scientists Jeremy Saunders and Wilhelm Kroll, his neighbor Mr. Abinash, his servant Prahlad and his beloved cat, Newton.